Hey guys, it's Josh from V Brothers here. And today I'm going to be doing a Logan review. Now before I begin my Logan review, I would quickly like to make a quick notice to all parents who may be thinking of taking their younger children to see Logan. This film is brutally gory. It's a brutal, gory, violent film that has brutal, gory violence and strong language throughout. This is not a film to take your young children to see, and we at the Review Brothers do not recommend taking your young children to see Logan. It is rated R for a reason, and although it is an X-Men film, it is so different from the previous variations, and they hold nothing back. Now, with that small quick notice out of the way, which will be the only time we ever do this, let's get on with my review, my solo review of Logan. Logan is a dark and brutally violent drama that's filled with action and adventure. A thrill ride that is deep and dark and very grim. An ultra-violent reality-based X-Men film that is very different from previous variations, and this film holds nothing back. And thankfully, with the overall success of 2016's Deadpool, it's Wolverine's time to shine in his own R-rated comic book film that creates a surreal and dark film that completely explores all the ideas and true personality of the character. Finally, Fox creates a film that will define Wolverine as a comic icon. Logan is a film that tells a story with both deep meaning and but is also very depressing. It's so unique and different from any comic book film ever put on screen, like I've ever seen, since probably The Dark Knight. Logan is written and directed by James Mangold and stars Hugh Jackman as Logan, Patrick Stewart as Professor Charles Xavier, Daphne Keane as X-23 or Laura, Richard E. Grant as Dr. Rice, Boyd Holbrook as Donald Pierce, Elizabeth Rodriguez as Gabriella, Stephen Merchant as Caliban. That is the main cast for this film. A film that you go into looking for action and with excitement written on your face, that by the credits had me and many others within the theater crying. This film genre bends on so many levels, and for example, one part of the film is a deeply sad drama that then transitions into a road trip film, and finally goes in between two things: a chase film, a western, and an action film. The way the film transitions from genre to genre is so seamless and works perfectly with the tone of the film. With that being said, I think the reason a film like Logan is doing so well with not only fans but critics as well comes down to one thing: timing. In my opinion, a film of this nature is not only just a dark genre-bending drama. This film is so much more than that. In many ways, it revitalized a certain style of comic book film, the dark and gritty nature comic book films. At a time where other comic book franchises are going the dark and gritty route and failing, specifically 2016's Batman v Superman, although a big draw at the box office, the film was destroyed by critics and panned by fans. Now, I think many couldn't understand why these concepts and ideas failed. In many's opinion, they know the answer. In my opinion, the answer was simple. The film was trying to build up another film instead of focusing its attention on the film we were watching. And this was the only purpose of Batman v Superman. The reason why Logan works is because, well, obviously it's not the first comic book film to end a trilogy. That's the truth. However, the film does something different and unique and strays away from the typical cookie-cutter generic superhero story endings, and instead takes a more real and non-traditional approach that felt smart and was the perfect way to end a trilogy. Based on a superhero, at least, Logan simply works because it's not trying to build up anything. Instead, it focuses on establishing connections and building characters, creating chemistry, and building a great story. Now, guys, I'm going to get into my pros and cons for Logan. I have many pros to this film, and a minor flaw or con here or there. Let's start with my pros, though, because this film has tons. One thing I liked about this film was the acting. Jackman gives an incredible performance, but so does everyone else of the film. There's no real weak acting, and all the actors play their roles convincingly and believably. Especially Daphne Keane, who had an amazing performance as Laura. Another thing I liked about this film is the way it was shot. The cinematography is fantastic and portrays the tone well. It looks great, and it also looks dark and grim and gritty, and it isn't cheesy. Cinematography stays true to the story's tone and emotions of the characters and visually sets the perfect scene. The final thing I like about this film was the direction. James Mangold's direction of this film is fantastic and adds an extra layer to what is already a fantastic film. Now, for my cons for this film, it is simply one thing. It's a minor flaw, in my opinion, but it also is something you really need to have to keep a story going. Now, with the characters' chemistry and the way the film was going anyways, Logan was able to keep me fully entertained, and I loved the film throughout and throughout and throughout. But the one thing that you really do have to make a film memorable, that Logan didn't necessarily need because of how much chemistry you got and how much the film isn't the traditional superhero film, so I see what they were going for. The villains were kind of dull and boring, let's be honest. Donald Pierce is a B-villain, and so is Dr. Xander Rice. These people do not seem like characters and villains that could properly destroy someone of the nature of X-23 or Logan. And they do end up doing it in the story, but they don't look like your typical villains, super villains. And that's actually something I would say I admire for the film. They tried to at least not make it so stupid and some stupid over-the-top costumed super villain that goes over the top and makes it all cheesy. I understand where they were going with it, but a guy like Donald Pierce and Dr. Xander Rice, as much as they were jerks and you totally knew their role was the villain, I mean, they work as a villain because the film kind of is trying to build up X-23 and the final clash between. And there are other villains in the film that I can't spoil. Like there's another big villain in this that I can't spoil. That because I'm not going to spoil anything in this. If you want a spoiler review, comment down below that you wanted us to talk about spoilers, because then I will have Ron on here. He also saw the film. We just decided to do this solo review because, well, we usually spoil stuff when we're together, and I wanted to give the fans a chance to go see this because it really does deserve to be seen, and if I spoil it for you, then there's no point in you seeing it. So there will be no spoilers in this review. Now, so the villains, yeah, the villains to me weren't memorable, they weren't really great, and necessarily you don't fully need memorable villains in some superhero stories, in some comic book films, and I can understand where they were going with the plot and the premise of this film. So, I do admire that it wasn't some over-the-top, crazy, costumed super villain, but it could have been somebody from Wolverine's past that made more sense. Now again, I understand where the tone of this film was going, so I see what they were trying to do. It didn't work for me, and the villains just came off as kind of annoying and stupid. But that's the only real flaw I had with this film. Everything else is done to perfection. This film is honestly fantastic. You should definitely give it a chance. So what's the overall opinion here? Well, overall, Logan is a unique and different comic book film that is dark and grim with lots of violence, but a great story about life, family, loss, and in some cases, self-destruction. This film is definitely worth checking out in theaters and definitely worth buying on DVD. I'm giving Logan an 8 out of 10 popcorns, guys. So, let me know in the comments, have you guys seen Logan? If you have, let me know what you thought of it. We'd love to hear from you. What else did you see this week? Tell us in the comments below. And remember, guys, to like, comment, and subscribe to the Review Brothers. Peace.